amazing team from Google, Apple, Nest. They've really leaned into the same type of design-first approach. Yeah, I mean, I'll let them dive in deeper. They recently won the one of the best innovations from Time Magazine last year, right?
Yeah, 25.
Cool, yeah, 25. So that's amazing. And then Molly here on my left, thank you so much for being here. We didn't actually get a chance to meet, so great to meet you. In person, anyway. Yeah, Molly Wood has she's been a journalist, an incredible journalist for a long time. She has the podcast Everybody in the Pool, and focuses a lot on actionable solutions for climate, impact investing, a lot more. Recently you've had 2 episodes come out, one on Mill, which is a super cool product as well. We don't have them here today, but look them up. And then Gridmatic, which a couple of my friends actually work at too. So very cool episodes, but today we basically get a live episode. So without further ado, thank you so much. Sure. Oh yeah, feel free to move over. We still have like 80 open seats here. Standing is cool, being close to your friends is cool. Up to you.
I was trained at the radio feed at Ty Rosdell, who stands, for those of you who are Marketplace fans, stands to do every episode of the show. And while I do not stand to do every episode of my podcast, I do endeavor for like a nice energetic sit, but like standing is good energy. Quilt has also been on the show. Actually, so has Sway, and several people in the room, but obviously we do a show every week at Everybody in the Pool, so you're all welcome. Let's talk later. Paul, it's great to talk again. Is there anybody here who doesn't know what Quilt is doing? Isn't familiar? Okay, great. So Paul, tell us your name and the company.
Am I on?
Press the button once.
I gotta press the button once. All right.
Hello. Oh, I am here. Hello. I'll stand for. Just so you all know, there are lots of seats open. Like this whole half of the audience is less dense. My name is Paul Lambert, and yeah, I'm the CEO of Quilt. So we have just 3 slides just to give you all a basic background of who we are, what we're doing today, and then we'll get into it with Molly. So that's me. Yeah, so we are the smartest way to heat and cool your home. Most homes are being heated and cooled today about the same way they were 50 years ago. They're using a fossil fuel-based furnace or radiator and an air conditioner that was designed, about 50 years ago. And we felt like it was about time to change that. And when I started this company because we wanted to find something that was really, really high impact and had been ignored for a while. And a remarkable fact that really surprised me when I was trying to figure out what to do was that homes actually generate more emissions than cars. And that consumers only buy fossil fuels in 2 parts of their life, their home and their car, and there's all this excitement around EVs. Great, that's super important, but the home side was pretty much ignored. And so you start peeling back, why is that? Well, there's a lot of policy support, so that's not the reason, right? There's awareness of these heat pumps. People actually know the name if you ask them. The technology has existed for a while, but what was holding it back? And our thesis was that one of the big things was just there wasn't an exciting product. There was push coming from the policymakers, but there wasn't pull. People weren't waking up in the morning being like, oh, that's something I want in my house. I want that because it's going to make my house more valuable. I'm going to be proud when my friends and family come over. And so that was our challenge. We wanted to create a product that people would just love emotionally. And hopefully, as you can see from the images, we've invested a lot into that aesthetic component. There's an emotional appeal to the design. People have pride in their home. You probably all put a lot of thought into the spaces in your home. And we want to earn that space, right? We want to earn the right to be on someone's wall or visible in their home, which is their most valuable, most private space. And in the last year, we've done a lot. So in the last year, we launched a feature called Auto Away, which automatically ramps down energy usage in empty rooms, and it's actually saving 44% of energy on a lot of homes, which is dramatic energy reduction. We did the first ever OTA, probably know OTAs from other IoT devices, EVs, over-the-air updates, first ever in the HVAC industry, and we actually improved the capacity of the systems we already installed. So our customer base had bought 9,000 BTU systems, and then they just got 12,000 BTU systems when they woke up. And you usually have to pay more for that. And so I'll just keep moving forward so we can get into the conversation with Molly, but We've seen some really strong pull from the product. This is another echo from the last conversation. We had to find our right way into the industry, and like Sway, we kind of thought we were going to do everything at the beginning, and then as we matured, we realized actually the best way is to partner with the industry. And so we were originally a direct-to-consumer model. This is now a year and a half ago. We're now a B2B2C. So that first B is HVAC contractors that we sell to, who then go sell to partners, or sort of homeowners. And it's just absolutely exploded our growth. So it says 100 on the slides. I actually checked right before coming up here. We're past 120 now, and 100 was only, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something. So we're adding a partner, every couple of days. It was every 3 days for the first year. It's faster now. We're in 36 states if you take U.S. and Canada. And yeah, so I'll get into the conversation, but it's going really, really well. And my main lesson there is that we don't actually talk about climate or environmental impact. We're just trying to create products like Sway that people really, really want in their home, no matter where they are on political spectrum or other spectrums. So let's get into it. Thank you.
I saw. I tricked you.
Yeah.
So let's start with the year
Yeah.
gone by. You're just in an awkward position up here. We're just gonna work it out.
Let me get a little closer. How about that?
Okay, yeah, good idea.
Okay. Slightly.
We don't have
There's
to
a
be,
table between
we don't have
us.
to be full COVID protocol, but we can set our stuff.
Yeah. It's like a coffee table chat.
Let's talk about the year gone by and what has changed. Like clearly the growth has been tremendous. The strategy is working B2B2C. What has changed for you? And when you talk about not talking about climate so much, is that a more recent development?
I don't think it is a super recent development, but it has I think the experience has underlined that is the right approach, and especially as we get outside the Bay Area and we work with the traditional industries, and we go in a lot of places that don't, feel and think the way Californians necessarily do. It's really important to speak to things that echo to everyone. And that's on the consumer side, but also the partners, right? Most of the selling we do today is actually to HVAC contractors, which tend to be, traditional businesses, often family-owned businesses, small businesses in all parts of the country.
And so, what are you telling them? Like, presumably you're working with contractors who already have some kind of a heat pump business, maybe?
Generally, yeah.
Okay.
Generally, yeah. It's easier if they know what that is and they're trying to accelerate it. Although we do talk to contractors who've been looking for a brand to build with, and they want to enter, say, this market, and for whatever reason they felt like they didn't have the product. So they're sort of making a bet on us as they enter the category. But usually what we talk to is we're going to accelerate your business. So we're going to add differentiation. Most of the products look the same. So they know when they walk into somebody's home, the next person is going to walk in is going to offer a product that basically looks and feels the same. And so we give them differentiation, and that makes them excited. And then we do a bunch of other things to help their business. So we give them really good quality leads. We give them software tooling. We allow them to remotely diagnose their fleet because of the software and the telemetry and the way we built the product that no other product can do. And that lowers their callback rate. They don't have to go back to fix something as often because they can remotely figure out what's going on. So really we talk to them mostly about business metrics. And that matters to them.
And then in terms of where the market is now, there are a lot of states that still have subsidies available.
Yeah.
There are not the federal subsidies available, and yet even just in the last year, I think the U.S. has somewhat recently become the biggest market for heat pumps in the world.
Yeah.
Which is great. What are you seeing in terms of the questions about incentives or the necessity of that?
Yeah. So I think you can kind of break it into heating and cooling. So cooling, you're going to get a heat pump, whether you call it an AC or a heat pump. An AC is just a half-broken heat pump. It's a heat pump that can't heat. And technologically, ACs are heat pumps. On the heating side, it's a little more complex, and often incentives are actually required because you have to overcome the cost difference between gas, fuel and electricity often. But we actually try to be pretty agnostic to that. I think as we get more industry power or influence, and maybe from here in a year or two I can talk to this, we can try to work on policy shaping. But at this point, we try to be pretty agnostic to it. Like we just try to stay very focused on this market is not going away, right? It's even more stable than say like EVs. Like there's no world that people aren't going to be buying heating and cooling, right? It's been around forever. Even recessions and booms either way. So we know if we make the best product that is going to have the most value for both our homeowners and our partners, so our B and our C, that we're going to grow the business, and we can use that to advance our mission and bring great products into the world and have the impact we want. So we're just really focused on that, really the business story. Yeah.
And is this still, when you build something that is beautiful and actually desirable and smart on top of that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the smarts in a minute because that is definitely key. Does this start to become, in any market, an upgrade of choice as opposed to a replacement?
Yeah, actually, we're more often than not, I think often.
An upgrade of choice?
Yeah, very often. Or many, let me ask you, define those terms for me. What do you mean when you say upgrade of choice?
Well, full disclosure, I am getting a quilt as soon as I can get my installation scheduled. Yes, we are partnering on basically a review of this. For me, I have a perfectly functional ductless, or rather ducted heating system. I do not have air conditioning. So for me, it's an upgrade of choice because my house is always as hot as it is outside, sometimes hotter inside. So it is a choice to upgrade even though my heater isn't broken.
Yeah.
But I know that a lot of HVAC considerations for people happen when something breaks.
Your situation is very common on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And cooling. Cooling is actually more of a luxury product. There's parts of the world where it is truly necessary, and actually, sad fact, but is a fact, the most deadly natural disaster by far is a heat wave. So heat at extremes is very dangerous and it's necessary, but for most people in most of the United States, it's effectively a luxury, when heating is mandatory in most places, legally. So when we're selling into cooling primary markets, it's like your scenario. And on the West Coast in particular, a lot of people are buying homes that were built without cooling, and the world is getting warmer, and people want cooling. So we see that quite a bit.
Got it. So when we say, we're kind of saying the same thing about an upgrade of choice. People are choosing to install a heat pump because they are adding cooling to their house, not because everything broke.
That's true, although in the heating dominant markets, sometimes something broke and they're getting cold.
Right.
So we see both.
And then I guess the other upgrade of choice opportunity is people who say, my energy bills are too high, which we are obviously seeing a lot more.
Yes. And actually on the heating side, one that we really can make a very big difference is if people have electric resistive heating. It's only about 20% of the market, but that's still a lot. It's millions of homes. So if people have baseboard heaters or electric furnaces or things like that, we can sometimes cut the energy bill by 5x, 4x or 5x, because they have a sort of a 1-to-1 ratio of energy to heat, and we can provide 1-to-4 or 1-to-5 for that same unit of electricity. And there's none of that fuel switching consideration. It's electricity, electric. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the looks for a minute and why that's important.
Yeah.
I would imagine that this is an audience that's pretty familiar with ductless versus ducted systems, but let's talk about why it's important to have good-looking units inside your house for people who may not be familiar with that mode.
Yeah. Well, let's just show of hands. If I say ductless heat pump, how many people know what that means? It's definitely jargon. Okay, it's
good. I'm really glad we're doing this.
Half the room, which is good. So then we can do the basics. So
let's do the basics.
If I say, the box that you have a remote at in a hotel that will blow cold air, do you know what I'm talking about? It's okay, so that's a ductless heat pump or ductless AC. Outside of North America, they're the most common HVAC system in the world. If you go to Asia, they're all over the place. In Europe, they're very common. In Southern Asia, they're common in South America. In North America, because we have this weird thing where we like single-family homes that are totally detached, we evolved ducted systems, right? So we have a central thermostat and air blows for ducting, like in this room, right? Ducting. We started in the ductless market because it's the most efficient. You can do the room-by-room control really well to lower energy bills. You're going to have the biggest possible impact because you have these high-wall units in every room. You can turn off rooms in a way that you can't really very well with ducted systems. And we knew that those things would combine with an ability to make a big splash, right? As a startup, you can't be 5% better, you can't be 10% bigger, you have to be 10x better. And looking at that category, we knew we could make something that was, in our humble opinion, way, way, way better. And so we started there, and one of the first things we did is we interviewed homeowners who either bought them or chose not to buy them, and said, what were your objections or why didn't you buy it? And at the very top of that list was aesthetics. People are not used to having a big white plastic box in every room of their home in America. And a lot of people like the energy savings, they like to want to feel good about it, but they just can't get over the remote and the janky, the kind of cheap looking plastic. So our job as designers is to solve problems, and that was a top problem.
And the noise, right? I mean, if you've done it in the hotel, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the indoor units are pretty, the kind of thing that you want in your home. Are they also, they're customizable, right?
Oh yeah, totally. So the front panel comes off, and you can wallpaper it, you can paint it. I think as the image I showed there had a really cool wallpaper on it. People love that.
Yeah. And then the outdoor units also look pretty good.
Yeah. Yes. It does. Yeah. So that's the wallpapered unit. Thank you, Ronnie. So that was done. Was that one of the creator homes? I think so.
The hotel in Healdsburg.
Oh, that's a hotel. Yeah. So we have a hotel program. This is Liz, who leads and runs marketing at Quilt, and is the genius behind most of the stuff I get to talk about. And then our outdoor unit is black. I don't know if it's because of us. A lot of the industry is now looking this way, but it's a unit that goes outside your home, and it's important to look at there as well. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm glad we're doing the basics because that leads us nicely into the control. So once you've got this kind of room by room opportunity where you can leave entire parts of the house hot or cold, right? If you're not using them, you want to then automate that. So talk about sort of building the smarts in and how that adds to the overall energy efficiency.
Yeah. Well, since we're at a Zoogler event, and we are a bunch of Zooglers who started Quilt, and so I would say we are more Google than Apple in the sense that most of our innovation is data and algorithms and design and product and sort of the software side of the technology. Our compressor, which I mean the actual physical compressor, is actually the same one that's in a bunch of boxes, because it turns out heat pumps are great, right? We didn't need to invent a new compressor. What we needed to do was take this industry that hadn't really been touched by technology and infuse it with technology. So all the boards are all custom. We have 10x more sensors throughout the device on both the inside and the outside than any other product in the market. The reason that matters is all of a sudden the surface area of things you can build just exponentially builds, because it's kind of a combinatorics problem. So if you have 10x as many sensors and you can control every individual room as opposed to just the thermostats, it's not just one on and off, you can control multiple rooms, and there's a gradient, so they're not on and off. I can put a room at 60, I can put it at 52.3, and I can get there at a different rate. The reason I'm giving you all these details is that all of a sudden the surface area for impact with software and algorithms is really, really big in this area where it was kind of ignored before. And the main thing we drive with that is energy efficiency. And so, I say turn off empty rooms. That's an oversimplification, because if someone's going to walk back into the room soon and they want it back to temperature, they're going to crank it, and now you're going to give up all the efficiency you just lost. So for example, we had to build algorithms that say, how quickly do we get back to speed? What's the probability of this room getting reoccupied? And all these things have allowed us to, I think, advance the state of the art in the industry and create a lot of value for our homeowners, because they get, at the end of the day, their energy bills get to be lower. And I think they can just kind of trust that we're doing that. And then the other thing that we get to do, because we built these over-the-air updates, every other product, the best it'll ever be is the day it's installed. It literally it depreciates, right? It just gets worse every day after you install it. Ours actually get better, because we ship new software every 2 weeks. So I can point to a long history, but the over-the-air update that increased the capacity is probably the most strongest example where the system actually gets more powerful. Yeah.
And can, let's again, all the way to basics, can then heat a larger surface area, right? Or heat more efficiently, or cool more efficiently.
Yeah, and in this one...
Because sizing your heat pump is a whole situation. You will spend a lot of time on Reddit.
Yes.
Trying to figure out the size of heat pump you need. So the idea that it turned into a bigger size heat pump is a big deal.
Yeah, and actually what it actually did was widen the range. So without getting too technical, is we have a really, really wide range. So it's not like we have all these different products and you have to fit it to the room. We have one product and it fits almost all rooms. Really big rooms you can get to. So that's what that update actually did. It actually raised the ceiling, but it kept the same floor. So it just broadened the number of rooms we could reach. And
then finally, and then I want to come to the audience for questions in our last few minutes. this is also, it's sort of, nest is a great analogy, and I know there are nesters.
Yeah.
Do you go with nesters, like Zuglers?
Yeah.
Nesters?
People think they were actually
quite
working on
darling,
this.
actually. I like nesters.
Yeah, it's cute.
Anyway, I know you have people from Nest on the team, and the kind of evolution of Nest, of course, was like, here's this smart thermostat. Oh, here's this smart thermostat that can participate in demand response programs from a utility, and maybe you can all of a sudden get paid
Yeah.
for enrolling your thermostat. And then this takes that to 11.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Although we currently we have not actually launched a demand response program yet. If I mean, we're demand response capable. But the reason we haven't done that is just fleet size, to be totally frank. So we are a relatively high ticket item, and which just means that, as you might expect, if we had 100,000 Quilt units or homes installed, we'd be a much bigger company than we are today. And you only matter to your utility once you have a significant amount of load under control.
Mm-hmm.
We're growing quickly, but it's going to take some time to get there. So it's just kind of a math problem.
Got it. So now it's more of it's a house by house benefit. It's a my house benefit that could in the future become.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
a my house / emissions and planetary benefits
Yes.
that could become larger over time.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's correct. Yeah.
Are there questions for Paul from the audience? Right here in the front. I think there's.
Powers a quilt? Is it electric?
Yeah, it's so the question was what powers Quilt. It's 100% electric, fully electric, and so it's where your electricity comes from. For some people, that's their solar panels. For some people, it's a beaker plant, right? Like obviously, we want it to be cleaner, but we don't control that part of it. Yeah.
So this is great for new builds, but
Yeah.
is there a way of retrofitting current HVAC ducted systems to work with this?
So almost our entire business is retrofit. I think we're probably less than 1% new build, maybe none, or very close, or maybe major renovations if you count that as new build. Roughly 50-50, it's people abandoning ducted systems, and then it's people who don't have ducted systems and want them. So they have radiators if they're in the east, or they have the baseboard heaters, whatever it is that I mentioned. So I will, maybe let me ask you, so why were you assuming this wouldn't work for retrofit? Or you thought it wouldn't be for retrofit?
What happens with the ducts?
So this room isn't exactly a great example. We're more for homes, but usually they're just legacy. They're like you just kind of leave them there. In my own home, I just have ductwork. You can cover the grates if they bother you. But I say the benefit actually is the ductwork stays there, but the furnace and AC guts get ripped out. So people often, one of the most surprising positive feedback we get is I get all this space back in my house. So they get a new utility closet they never had before, a storage room, because it used to be occupied by the furnace and now it's empty. And sometimes people have done cool projects where they turn that into a storage room or something.
I can tell you that I personally am specifically this person. So I currently
Great.
have ducted heating and a closet in my kind of front area. It's like an open concept, right? So there's this closet that looks like a really useful coat closet, but there's a big heater in there and it's gonna come out. And I had some girlfriends over the other day and the ideas got wild. I think I have now decided maybe like a little baby library in this. It's probably gonna be a coat closet, but yes, the ducts will just live there and hopefully rats won't move in. Maybe I'll talk to them, but okay, now we have questions galore. I saw your hand go up first. And then I'll come to you in the back. Yep, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout it out.
Yes, so you mentioned that it's a high-ticket item. Is it possible to utilize it partially? So for instance, in an ADU only, or in, a particular space, like the converted garage or something, rather than, so in conjunction with, maybe there's a ducted heating system in the rest of the
Right, yeah.
space.
Yes. So the question was, can it be partially adopted? Can you just use it for an ADU? The answer is yes, and actually that's one of the very big benefits of a ductless system, or the kind that we make. I'd say that this is very common. I actually don't have the stat on the top of my hand, but it's very common that we're in an ADU or an office, or they put it in the problem room upstairs, but they still use the ducted system for the rest. Super common. Yeah.
Not to geek out too much, but that is a particular thing about the Quilt system is that it supports 3 zones. It's the condenser is somewhat small,
Yeah, well,
Or
so
bigger systems exist that support more zones, but you're a
Yeah.
little more modular?
I actually had a bit of I want to take a take of the way you've written that up in your article, so I want to say this. So there are,
Let's
you can
discuss.
get like 5 or 6 zone systems. I'm going to get a little nerdy here, but they tend to not save money because the cost increases linearly, but actually cost more because the installation gets more complex. If you have one thing on one side of your house and you have to route everything from every part of your house to one place, that's a complicated installation. If you have one on each side of your house and you can kind of split it, you actually save money on labor, and the materials are often the same.
And you can do that ADU thing.
Yeah,
because
so-
you've got a small one over here that you don't necessarily.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have a 3, a 2, and the 2 can also be a 1. So we can do 3, 2, or 1. And then honestly, once you get bigger than 3, as I'm saying, it's better to have multiple.
Yeah.
So I don't. The economics don't make sense for 4 and bigger.
All right, I see a hand back there. I want to make sure I see one over there after that, and then I saw one over there. Okay, 3 more questions. We're gonna speed. We got a speed round. Go.
Well, congratulations on the partner program. I think that's huge. And in California, we're approaching 3 million heat pumps deployed based on the last statistics. But when you move into some of the other states, there's the anecdote constantly that when you go to a contractor, they say, "Oh, you don't want a heat pump." Haven't broken down that communication piece, and most people in this room are fairly educated, but they still know exactly what a heat pump was. And you said it's broken. AC is kind of a broken heat pump, right? It's just effectively the cycle it reverse. But I'm curious, how you've broken down that cost flow, especially outside of California, where there aren't incentives, there aren't as much push for heat pump adoption.
Yeah. So I think the question is, outside of California, how are we, seeing the trends, or how are we getting through to get contractors to adopt heat pumps where maybe there aren't policy support or the awareness. It's definitely, there are a lot of the coastal states do have good policy, right? So the Northeast, Washington, Oregon, but also the South has been the largest heat pump penetration historically in America, so they know what a heat pump is. And we've actually found that not to be as big of a barrier as I thought. So we do an annual heat pump survey. That's not just about Quilt. We track nationwide what awareness is year over year, and also sentiment towards it. And nationwide, it's getting better year over year over year. Awareness is growing, positive inclination towards it is growing. To be honest, that has not been a barrier for us yet. We've been able to, we mostly target contractors who already have some heat pump business, or they already have a predisposition to grow it. But the fact is, heat pumps have now outsold furnaces for 3 years straight. And, again, these are businesses, so they want to make money, right? So the market is growing, and even I think contractors who 2-3 years ago were that, oh, you don't want a heat pump, they're now singing a different tune as well. Yeah.
All right, let's come over here.
I'm just curious, how expensive is a full installation compared to AC and furnace?
So it really depends on how big your home is and all that. We're very competitive with the market, and actually, if you get a quote from one of our partners, 2/3 of that cost we have no control over. So the control is generally 1/3 the materials, which come, or the equipment that comes with Quilt, 1/3 their labor, and 1/3 other materials. So it's hard to give you an exact number, but on the low end, it's probably around $5,000 to $6,000 for a cheaper one for a single zone, for a single room, up to much larger than that for whole homes, that's certainly into the 5 figures. But we're pretty much market price for if you go to one of the competitors that we're often compared with, we're about the same. So our strategy is try to neutralize price and so that we can win on all the other dimensions.
Let's sneak this one in real quick, and that'll be our last one.
Similar to this guy's question, how much is the name heat pump inhibiting adoption faster? Because it's only explaining one part of it, right? I've always just found that when I talk to people about heat pumps, they have this conception that it only does the one thing, which is in the name.
Yeah.
So, as a design branding person, I just feel like it was a missed opportunity to just hold on to that name and just kind of keep that when it only does explain half of what it actually does.
I agree. I think it's just a name, but I think also there are so many examples of bad. I don't know, Google's kind of a bad name, but I think there's just so many names that once you hear it, you start to just people are smart. But there is a lot of brand equity built around heat pump, for better or worse. There's a lot of awareness where I really think we're fighting against the tide. And actually, one of our core principles, and I heard this in Sway as well, is work with the existing system. So like I said, we didn't reinvent the compressor. We're not reinventing the go-to-market model, and we're not trying to rebrand heat pumps. I think is it 90%? 90% heat pump awareness? So yeah, 90% of Americans know what heat pumps are. whatever perfect word we design is going to take a long time to get 90% awareness. So, you know, we're kind of just working with it, and we do think that once, you know, people get past that initial hurdle, it's you know what it means. Yeah.
I will finish by saying that I think in our interview, Paul made the point that furnace, or maybe I made the point that furnace is also a hot word. But like, we roll with it, I guess. But believe me, over the past 3.5 years of doing this podcast specifically, I cannot tell you how many people have been like, I wish I had a different name. If you've got one, we'll go with it.
I've heard
But
2AAC.
No one's right.
It just nothing really
Gets weirder and weirder. All right. Thank you so much to Paul and the time. He'll still be here for more questions, but we want to keep things rolling.
Thank you all so
Thank you
much
so
for your
much.
time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We have a lot of designers, so if you have